Hey, good morning everybody. Welcome to Squawking 1200. Parked at Kilo Bravo Delta Lima in beautiful Connecticut, home of Flight SimCon, Bradley International. I have updated X-Plane to 11.1 beta. One of the first things I noticed up here is my CPU usage seems way lower. So it's down to below the GPU, which is awesome. My settings: max 4x SSAA FX world objects max, reflection 0, parked aircraft off, draw shadows off. I'm using a 6700K overclock to 4.4, just using the simple overclock Genie. 32 gigs of RAM. What other specs are pertinent? GTX 1080. I'm also running World Traffic 3, so I hear some aircraft in the background. So what I'm going to do, I think I'm just going to fly around. So what we're going to do, we're going to get this aircraft started up. I'm going to stay with the Airfoil Labs 172. It's kind of been my benchmark testing aircraft. It's not really frame friendly compared to the default. Check around. Got nobody around me. Fuel pump on. Positive fuel flow. Fuel pump off. Mixture out. Alright, let's try this again. Fuel pump on. Fuel flow. Check. Fuel pump off. Crack the throttle. Alright, here's a pro tip. Ha! Lol. More of an observation, far from being a pro. When starting up, once the artificial horizon indicator thing, thingamabob over there in the middle, what's that? Once this starts to circle around and go a little bit crazy out at the beginning, that seems to be when the airplane is ready to be started. If you try to start it before then, it doesn't seem to work. So like, let the instrument start to get shaky. Just something I observed. Alright, checking the chat. So far it's pretty quiet here. Let's get this thing, we're just going to take off and fly around, see how X-Plane reacts, see what else comes up. I'm going to check world traffic here. Display flight info. Alright, we definitely have some stuff going on. Looks like a bunch of general aviation, which is awesome, which is what I'm going to prefer. One of the things that I noticed is a huge amount of trucks. I'm pretty sure those were not part of my regular scenery. So as we taxi around here a bit, taking a quick tour, let the engine warm up. So whatever improvements Laminar's been doing, probably to the Vulcan or whatever, they're definitely seeing a decrease in my CPU usage. There goes somebody departing. Alright. Hey, Storm Warrior. Good morning. Thanks for dropping in the chat today. So far it's been between 25 and 30 frames as I've been kind of taxiing around. It's been generally, I would say, less fluctuaty than some of the previous stuff. So it looks like it kind of levels out and stabilizes. Throw on leave the beacon light on, throw on the landing light, throw on some strobes and some nav lights. And as they say in Star Wars, punch it, Chewie! Wow, a lot of left rudder today. And rotate up. I'm using Ortho 4XP. Look at the looks like a lot of fix in the anti-aliasing to my eye. Looks like a bunch of stuff has been reduced, like lot less shimmering. See, there's a little bit of shimmering right there. But usually these poles, some of the finer details have shimmered. Frame rates from 30 plus right now. So we're headed east. Feels like there's a super strong wind giving us a push. I don't know if that's the new dynamics, but it's definitely feels really noticeable. I'm not coordinated and I can hear the wind noise in the air. There was a little hesitation right there. So I'm going to get back on the coordinated flight. Let me see what the wind's 243. So the wind should be coming from behind us. Go back to coordinated. Yeah, it feels like I'm being pushed. It's definitely a noticeable difference in how the aircraft is reacting. That program, Megamass, is Pilot to ATC. I was going to use it, but I decided I was just going to go with testing the public beta and just do my, just do some observations. One of the biggest observations I've noticed right now is the anti-aliasing seems to be reduced a bunch. My CPU usage seems to be reduced, and I feel like I'm feeling more of a push in the aircraft. Yeah, Pilot to ATC, it controls the it's a voice activated air traffic control communications. It's eventually going to be linked in with World Traffic 3. That's kind of what I'm waiting for. A lot of my channel has been dedicated to Pilot to ATC, and using and learning air traffic control. So I'm going to just try to trim this out a little bit. Alright, feet are off the rudder pedals. Still climbing a little bit. Let the aircraft stabilize. Hey, thanks Megamaster, thanks for stopping by the channel. If you have any questions about Pilot to ATC, I'll try to answer them. There's definitely more qualified people. I'm a kind of a general aviation flyer, so I'm using it pretty simply. Alright, we're headed south towards Hartford, Connecticut. And usually in Hartford I do take a frame hit. Once the city starts to materialize, it should pop up probably right there. Yeah, there's Hartford. Yeah, so the aircraft's trimmed out. And I definitely feel like there's a difference in the flight dynamics on how the wind is acting on the Cessna. Yeah, frame rate's been steady, 25 to 30-ish. So I'm going to stop in Hartford. Hey, welcome to the chat. I'm still trying to figure out who just jumped into the chat. Who was that? I'm learning how to navigate OBS and all that. I still haven't. I heard the chime. I'm just not seeing it on my stream. Oh. So this is my first flight using the public beta, 11.1 public beta. Noticed less CPU usage. I noticed less shimmering on my ground objects. For those of you that are just jumped into the chat, I'll just show you these are my settings. I'm using a 6700K slightly overclocked, a 1080 GPU. I have Pilot to ATC in the background, but it's currently not running. There's been a few spots where the frames have dipped down briefly to like 9 frames and then quickly climb back up. I don't know if that was on an edge of a scenery load. So far, I'm going to say the smoothness overall has increased. That's the city of Hartford over here on the right side. East Hartford. This stadium over here, that should be the home of the Huskies. This is United Technologies, Cabela's, for all your hunting and fishing needs. The wind's coming from 243, 240. So I'm going to I think I might do a loop and just come right up. There's a short airport here and short runway. I think I'm going to take that one. I do have World Traffic 3 on, but I did not generate a flight plan with it. So maybe I should resync or even fill in a flight plan. Let me try that. Flight setup. Just going to hit create flights. Alright, so now I should find our Hartford Airport here. I think that just spawned in. Right about pattern altitude. Hey, look at that. There's some world traffic. That's the runway we're going to land on. It seems, you know, some of these are just going to be really just observations. The autogen looks a little different. I don't know. I didn't study the release notes, you know, and memorize them, but the autogen looks different. This is Wethersfield Cove. Get myself parallel with the runway. Alright, let's see, extended center line. I'm gonna be shooting a turn right around here somewhere. The mighty Connecticut River. Yeah, definitely CPU usage is down. You know, it's improved. Below 110, and hit the first notch of flaps. Landing lights are still on. For head movement, I'm using the hat switch. So I guess in terms of what how people classify this, I'd call this a first look at public beta 1 or 11.1 public beta 1. The one thing that I found on initial startup, I was put into windowed mode. Flaps 20. Yeah, it definitely feels like a little bit more impact on the crosswind. I just noticed something as I was landing. I do have some fine lines right here. I didn't notice those when I was up in the air. Yeah, it definitely looks like a lot less shimmering in the objects. So I'm going to taxi over to the yeah, I got a lot of rudder into this. So the wind is definitely having more impact. Let's check ground handling too. Yeah, little lines right here. I'm going to say the ground handling, I'm not immediately telling any difference as far as like the wheel contact feel for the nose wheel for the steering, but it definitely feels the wind. So the wind's directly pushing us now. I didn't notice any tire squeal. It was more of a thump because it was a pretty hard landing. I got distracted by those lines as I was kind of staring into the runway and didn't flare as early. We'll taxi down to the end. Maybe I'll connect the pilot to ATC and one thing I did not turn off, so I'm not hearing any noise. I forgot to turn off Squawk Box. Alright, disable Squawk Box.
November 04 X-ray. Papa fly heading 110. Descend and maintain 2000.
Heading 110 down to 2000. November 04 X-ray. Papa.
So if you haven't noticed, the
November 09 X-ray. Papa fly heading 010. Descend and maintain 3000.
Wind 240 and 10. Visibility more than
oh, we're picking that up. Alright.
Condition is 5,000 square.
November 02 X-ray. Papa fly heading 270. Descend and maintain 3000.
Alright, for me, Squawk Box interferes with the native pilot to the native air traffic control within X-Plane. So that I have to shut off if I want to hear any of the X-Plane chatter. The other thing that you have to, and for me to see any AI airplanes in the past, I'd have to make sure I was on one of the frequencies. So it's just a couple of little things that I had noticed. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn on pilot to ATC and see.
Hartford Freighter information. 1700 Zulu weather. Wind 240 and 10.
Okay, that must be a little bit of a change. In the past, I've had difference in
Altimeter 2992.
what Pilot to ATC was saying
Departing runway 29.
and what the sim was saying as far as winds. I'm going to just jump over to clearance delivery. Cessna 12 Bravo, ready to copy VFR clearance. Let's see. Cessna 12 Bravo, ready to copy VFR clearance. Okay, so it wants me to file a flight plan. Cessna 12 Bravo, ready to taxi. So I'm going to look at the taxi route. Is that aircraft? Alright, we have some extra aircraft. So World Traffic 3 doing its job. So now that I have Pilot to ATC running in the background, I'm picking up the chatter that I put into Pilot to Air Traffic Control. I'm going to check my Airfoil Labs 172 for some maintenance, throw some oil in this thing. Looks like I have 137 hours in this aircraft. Have plenty of fuel on board. Gonna trim for takeoff. Contact tower on 119.6 Cessna 12 Bravo. 119.6. Turn into the wind. Mixture. Run up. Right mag. My Pi Engineering X keys are not working. Alright, left and right mags check out, back to both. So this is going to be almost a direct crosswind coming from our left. Cessna 12 Bravo, ready for departure 02. Whoops. Tower on 119.6, Cessna 12 Bravo. Niner 0.6. Cessna 12 Bravo ready for departure. So it said winds were calm, and I know that they're set to 10. But we're just going to say it back. So far, I'm really impressed with some of the smoothness that's seemingly been ironed out. Definitely, the anti-aliasing looks better. How the plane is reacting. Here comes another aircraft. Got a lot more rudder input. In the ground handling actually does seem improved. It seems to kind of come, I guess it has more of a feel. Yeah, noticeable reduction in the shimmering. So far, what would I say? My path to upgrade was pretty smooth. The only little glitch, it switched into windowed mode. So I had to go into and fix that. There goes somebody underneath us. So I had to fix that. Other than that, everything. I had one error with World to X-Plane American VFR landmarks. It said they might not display correctly, so I unloaded that. So I took that off, relaunched the sim, took it out of windowed mode. Everything's been great. That being said, I do not run a ton of add-ons. I don't have any Lewis scripts. So I run Ortho, World Traffic, Pilot to ATC, and I have X camera on. So I want to kind of consider myself an X-plane minimalist. So I'm going to head back down the Connecticut shore. Just go south. We'll, about 20 minutes we'll be flying over the ocean. We'll take a look at if the ocean water view has been improved. Landing light off. They're on the autopilot. So far, I guess if you're going to have to put a checkbox down for initial reaction and for happiness, I would say yeah, definitely. With this CPU usage being down here, I'm going to be tempted to throw on Draw Shadows, see how that reacts. Let's turn up the reflections a tiny bit. We'll go to 2 notches, we'll go to medium. Yeah, frame went down. Initially they went down. Well, I'm going to give it a minute to see if they stabilize. We were up at a kind of a steady 2930. Turned on the reflections. Now it's kind of jumping from 19 to 26. CPU usage went from 0 to, so it definitely has a performance hit, and it has a steadiness hit. It looks like it's kind of been, you can see it fluctuating, I'm going to say between 19 right there to 27. It's going up and down a lot. A way bigger swing than I would have than it should, than in my opinion, than it should. I'm not sure about you guys, but once I pan around a little bit and let the sim stabilize, my frame rates tend to stabilize. Yeah, it's going from 18 to 25. Now it's dropped down below 20. And that was just using reflections. This body of water, this window view, 20. Yeah, the CPU jumped up a bunch. Now it's almost equal to the GPU. Yeah, it seems like we're in the low to mid 20s with the reflections on. Kind of leveled off there. I'm going to turn those back off to minimal. Yeah, I get an immediate increase in frames. Yeah, probably 8. So it's stabilized. It almost immediately came into like 28 to 30. I don't know if this has, what kind of an impact this has, but there was some kind of Windows update yesterday on Windows 10. I don't know how large of an update was. I kind of just hit the apply button. I'm becoming a little bit more trusting with the Windows upgrades. They don't seem to be breaking everything. I have not checked my NVIDIA drivers. What is that? NVIDIA control panel? Let's see if there's any newer drivers. I'll update them if there are later. I might be of the opinion that the haze is reduced. Oh, it looks like it's just going to update it automatically. Hopefully you don't blow up the sim here. Well, we'll see what the update does. We're at 28 frames. Something went wrong. It's because I'm probably using GeForce. Hey, Mr. Chu, it is 11.10 beta. I've been flying it for about 45 minutes now. I made some immediate observations of the CPU. My CPU usage is way down. Definitely seems a lot more friendly. I'll show you my settings. Max, max, max. Anti-aliasing is cranked up. A few minutes ago I just experimented with reflection detail, brought it up to here, and it had a pretty big impact on frames. I probably lost 8 to 10 frames right away on the reflection detail, so I turned it back off. I've been simming with a pretty steady 30 frames, 29 to 35 in most locations. I have a Pilot to ATC running. OBS is running. My graphics card is a GTX 1080 with a 6700K processor. Flying over ortho scenery. The only problem that I experienced was my the Sim Heaven USA. Uh-oh, something just happened here. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy. Yeah, anti-aliasing does hit me the hardest too. Hopefully this comes back, but I think we just had my first crash. Yep. Fill this out. If I can fill this out. Just gonna send it. So when it comes to anti-aliasing, I'm going to show you some of the other stuff. I use NVIDIA Control Panel too. I'll pull that up on here. So under my program settings, I'm gonna turn this off for a second, maybe. See if this goes. I have the Pilot to ATC chatter on. So what I did in the NVIDIA control panel, I actually have a few things set on, and they do seem to help. I have threaded optimization off. So power management, I want to have maximum power. There was an update to NVIDIA that may have had an impact on crashing, but I found mixed results to positive results by changing these. Sometimes I feel like it really helps with my anti-aliasing, setting, letting NVIDIA help control. So Mr. Chu, that might help some of the stuff with you. This is the first time I've been able to really run the anti-aliasing up as high as I was. Usually I have it down at 2, the second one there. So maybe I should update the GeForce experience. I don't know what my password is. Come on. Go away. This may have to wait. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find my password. Alright, let's go relaunch the sim and see what happens. Yeah, I guess, everybody's systems are so different, which is, in some ways it's a really big plus. In other ways, it just makes tracking down kind of optimal settings that much more challenging for everybody. I've been kind of a proponent of everybody starting in one airport. Matter of fact, I'm going to start on what I suggest to everybody. I'm going to say noon. We're going to go to Seattle. Now we'll see what if this thing cripples my system or not. Other than that crash to desktop, I was pretty happy the way things were kind of working out. Yeah, I was excited that the public beta 11.1 came out today. I'm pretty busy tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, so I didn't even know when I was going to get a chance, but I have a little bit of free time this morning, to kind of put stuff through its paces. Yeah, once, another thing I'm doing, I'm running this on my regular hard drive. I'm not running it on my SSD. I kind of have a clean copy on my SSD drive that I'm kind of keeping that way. I think once 11.1 becomes a regular release, I'm going to link all my scenery and stuff to the SSD X-Plane. The load time, you know, right now I think I'm at 5 minutes, and I don't even have that much stuff to load. Tried to load World to X-Plane yesterday. Yeah, I was just running that USA World to X-Plane pack. I'm not even sure if I was doing it exactly right. It definitely added some objects, landmarks, but that's another whole learning curve that I need to take on. I started to edit a couple of my local airports to support World Traffic 3. Alright, I'm going to turn on the map here. Where am I? Alright. I'm not a jetliner, so I'm just going to rotate my aircraft around. That's what I use the map for. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to make sure I have Squawk Box off. That adds all kinds of like weirdness. I'm going to flight setup. We're going to crank this up. Yeah, I've been pretty conservative with with a lot of my add-ons, just for the impact on frame rates. As people kind of like, oh, this looks awesome, and then, you know, 10 days later they're like, oh, this is hurting my sim, or this is seemingly slowing things down. That's why I'm not running a weather engine right now. I would love to have Xenviro, but with the rumor of Active Sky coming to X-Plane, that's why I'm holding off on some of this stuff. I saw VRAM gets used. Yeah, some of the texture resolution. Let's let this thing finish up. See if we can even see this. We'll do this in a second. It's generating a lot of flights. That's good. But the first SAAO seems to impact the shadow areas. Wow, there's going to be a lot of flights in Seattle here. Look at that. Wow, look at all these planes that's just populated. So this is kind of a new warning. And someone says it's seemingly in relationship to your frames per second slowing down. Looks like a pretty big hit. Seattle's a tough place to, you know, to generate. It's got a lot of scenery. That's why it's the demo area. But I'm up in 23, 24 with a lot of world traffic. Probably almost too much world traffic. Back to these settings. Let's see if we can see it in here. Alright, so look at this area right here. And this is like one of those sacrifices. Do you want it to be slightly gray, or do you want it to be baked in black? So I think that's the primary thing with the HDR texture. You know, and look at the frame rate. We're at 39. We'll turn this back on. And we're just sitting here. That, like a loss of 10 frames. So visual, turn that down. We pick up 10 frames. Let's see if how it sticks. Let it stabilize a little bit. So in that other view, the graphics card went down. Yeah, I just have a regular 1080. Whoa, what's going on over here? That's new. So that didn't really change the graphics settings. It actually just, it really didn't do much. Let's just start up and taxi. Is there a fire over here? This is hilarious. Oh, we got some pushback going on. This is the most World Traffic 3 that I've had. Yeah, this is full-on Seattle with World Traffic 3. It's funny, now, earlier on I had a problem with my keypad setup. I run Pi Engineering keypad set. So it looks like those jets on takeoff put out a lot of stuff, a lot of smoke. Yeah, let's just fly around a little bit. Gonna let this thing warm up. I don't know, what's my tower? World Traffic. So SSAO will enable PBR. Alright, this guy's taxiing in. Cool. I'm gonna zip by this jet. We'll see what how the jet wash is right here. This is the Airfoil Labs Cessna. A lot of people think the default with the rep is better. You know, it's kind of a mixed bag. I already owned this one before the Reality Expansion Pack came out, so I'm sticking with it. You know, the rumor has it that there's going to be an Airfoil Labs Pro edition. So again, I'm taking a wait and see attitude on a lot of stuff. I still think we're really in the kind of the early part of the improvements of the simulation of X-Plane. I'm not buying too many aircraft unless they're X-Plane 11 specific. So far we're staying at a pretty steady 21, 22 frames. Just drive around here for a little bit while the engine warms up. Yeah, you're one of the ones that, again, trying to... if I didn't already have this one, whoa. It's like playing Battlefield 1 when the sandstorm comes up. Yeah, if I didn't already have the Airfoil Labs, I probably would buy the rep. But I think my next little bit of money, I think I'm going to buy the Piper Tri-Pacer. That plane looks super awesome. I'm also waiting for the World Traffic 3 to be integrated with Pilot to ATC. This is awesome. Who's doing that? It's almost like there's like a forest fire. Alright, KLM, let's get out of here. By the time this guy gets going, maybe take a... It is pretty demanding. That's why I kind of been playing with and leaving it as it's been my default aircraft. So it's the one I have the kind of the biggest comparison with. The default Cessna gives me way better frame rates. But there's something about the way the Airfoil Labs handles for me. It's really been an enjoyable aircraft for me. I'm not a pilot in real life, so I have that going against me, where people that are pilots, you know, some seem like they're all about the reality expansion pack being better. Why is this guy just sitting here? We're gonna blow by this dude. I'm gonna sneak under his wing. Well, now he's rolling, of course. I guess we weren't close enough to him. Now with my headset plugged in, that's one thing I like about the Airfoil Labs that I don't think I get in the default. I hear a lot more of the ambient aircraft, which is kind of neat. 34 right, line up and wait. This is pretty funny. I could see, like, at the ramp on startup, maybe you're going to get some of that. But, you know, the smoke rendering is good, like, when it gets to this part. But this... and it's not really contained to any one thing. Yeah, it is a little bit weird. Yeah, the Airfoil Labs, it can be a little bit tricky to start. I kind of have like my own like little method for working it. I would like to, you know, it's gonna be, I'm gonna add that to my Christmas list. The rep. You know, I like that challenge of, you know, trying to start things in cold weather. Alright. This is the World Traffic 3 is working awesome here. 9 times the speed as your PC can run with these rendering options. Yeah, it's giving me a warning that I think the timing's going to be off because of the low frame rate. Yeah, takeoff roll seems a little bit slow. Amity cleared across. I didn't notice any of the ground shimmering, which was good, the ground quake. So hopefully that is gone forever. Trying to get above this smoke screen. Yeah, no, World Traffic 3, I think, again, I guess I'm more on the patient taking a wait-and-see attitude on a lot of things. Like World Traffic 3, yeah, it's... I just wanted to see some aircraft in the sky. I wanted to see some stuff taking off and landing. I would try to run, you know, maximum AI planes, and you rarely ever saw anything. And now I think at least there's a, you know, there's a chance in the variety of planes in the plane pack. You're seeing a lot more variety of stuff. Like I would almost never see that. Or that with the default AI. Yeah, the frame rates are getting killed a lot right here. And weirdly though, it's kind of it's a little bit stuttery. It's not unflyable. Let's see, we can go over to KRNT over here. I was just out in Seattle visiting some friends this past summer. Boeing Field over here. Yeah, even at 15 frames, it's not making big hesitations, and this is maxed out. You can see the GPU's working, the CPU's working really hard, as well as the GPU. They're both cranked up. This brown, I don't know, I feel like I'm in World War II and being shot at with a flak cannon. Come into Renton here. This is a cool little airport. It's got left and right hand traffic patterns at two different pattern levels. One side, there's some elevation you have to deal with, so it's a 200 or 300 feet higher than the other side of the traffic pattern. I think one side's like 1100, one side's like 13 or 1400. So it'd be nice to see somebody wanting to take off right there. First notch of flaps. Hey, Mr. Chu, thank you for stopping by the stream. I really appreciate it. You know, my little X-Plane channel starting to grow. Yeah, thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoyed a little bit of this demo. Some shimmering on top of these roofs a little bit. Tolerable. Definitely tolerable. The frames per second, not tolerable. But this is Seattle. Everything is maxed out. Not ground shadows. But as far as like the graphic sliders, reflections are off. World objects, max. World traffic to 3, max. Cessna 1-2 Bravo turning final. These guys running through red lights, and like that tractor trailer just did a U-turn in the middle of the intersection. How do you even get that done? Look at that guy. Whew. Notch of number 2 of flaps. Oh, I gotta lower the nose a lot. Made the field. Kill the power. A little high here. So now what I may do, I think I'm going to turn down a couple of my settings, reload. Wind's coming from our left. Still find timing the flare and X-plane is a little bit tricky. Alright. On the A side here. Alright, it's parked by the fuel department here. Alright, let's fix up some rendering options. Let's shut down this stuff. We'll go back to cold and dark here. What do you say we knock down the objects? And if we knock down the anti-aliasing, let the sim reload. I'm just looking at some of the memes that are coming across about the Yankees. Congratulations to my Yankees. Good job. Looks like a few people are not recommending the upgrade. Some people are definitely reporting better flight dynamics. I noticed that right away, like I could, like an organic wind feel. Let's see, person reporting it has major issues. It might break X-Pilot activation and have horrible FPS, especially over large cities. Over Seattle, this is one of the test centers. CPU use, GPU. I just turned my settings down. This is where I'm at right now. I'm going to turn down this. That doesn't really do that much for me. 30 frames. Alright. Just going to leave this over here. I'm going to launch. Now let's just fly around. I was thinking I'd do some off. Good. I'm going to redo world traffic, but I'm going to reduce the traffic density a little bit. Getting some weird, like, crazy brown smoke. Generate? Yeah, see this stuff right here? Crazy weird. It's almost like micro dust storms. Alright, we have our routes generated for World Traffic 3 here at KRNT. Renton Field. Alright. Battery on. Beacon light on. Fuel pump. Gotta turn these off. Full fuel flow for about that long. Crack the throttle. Over to my key. Wow, fired right up today. That's awesome. Alternator on. Alright, so I turned down some of my rendering settings. I did world objects. I turned them down from insanely high. I turned this down one notch. I turned this down one notch. If everything holds up between 25 and 30, see, the GPU is not even working again. Like, it's 0.016. So just go to the visual effects. Hurt the frames a tiny bit. Let's get out of here. Let's see, the wind is coming from 2.4. We'll go with the left crosswind. Alright, we're testing out X-Plane 11.1 public beta. So far, the only crazy weirdness that I've seen, I don't know if you guys can pick them up, there's some lines in the screen. There's some crazy brown smoke that comes over the airports. I don't know if that's like simulating jet startups, but I noticed it, a ton of it at Seattle, almost to where it was, if you've ever played Battlefield 1, when you get the sandstorm and you can't see anything. It's about as close to my description as I could get. So here we are at Seattle. We're at KRNT. Let's say landing light. We're kind of foregoing any formalities really with procedures. It's mostly what I guess people would kind of term a first look. I had to take off world to X-Plane, VFR, USA landmarks. Had a conflict. Said they may not look as they should, so I just took it off. I had a warning notice. Um, 30 frames a second, 20, 30. What we'll do, we'll come back to Seattle, to SeaTac. This is Boeing Field right here. I don't know if that's changed. That looks about the same. So as we turn, getting a little bit jumpy on the frames, 24 to 29. Leave the landing light on. Probably just go for like a low pass. Even with turning down the anti-aliasing a notch, doesn't seem to have really increased the shimmering. Got some shimmering on the trees, some of the buildings, the roadway over here. Some of that could just be like a weird autogen conflict. The wind should be coming from our 1 o'clock position to almost, actually probably 2 to 3 o'clock. We have the field made. Yeah, the ground handling feels like there's a, I'm going to say it definitely has a little bit more of an organic feel. We're just doing a little demonstration flight of X-Plane 11.1 public beta. Downloaded it this morning. We're in the Seattle demo area. I had to turn down some of my settings. I'm running World Traffic 3 right now. I think I have ortho for Seattle. I think I do have an ortho tile here. I have the little boat expansion pack down here. draws boats kind of like in weird spots. Right on the end of like coming into LaGuardia over the water. Right at the end of the runway there'll be a dock. My warning went away. I had the time warning, which is kind of new. It shows up here if your frame rates are too low, and how much it's going to increase your time. For my little Squawking 1200, the chat's been pretty active this morning. I've been streaming for a few weeks now. I'm not a real-world pilot or anything. Just kind of one of those enthusiasts. That should be Mount Rainier on our right. Yeah, flight dynamics definitely improved. Do I recommend jumping into public beta? So far I do. With World, there was a crazy amount of like brown smoke with, I don't know if that's the World Traffic 3 plugin or if it was just how it interacts with X-Plane. But as the engine spooled up at the airport, like mounds of like brown smoke everywhere. Looks like the haze, I think, is a little bit more realistic too. I haven't touched I don't think the draw view distance. I'm going to check that. Yeah, no, it's still at 25. So I think the haze has been, it may have be adjusted a little bit. See, as I turn there, I can almost see and feel forces acting on the plane, which they definitely were not there before this public beta. Flying along in my airfoil labs. So, turning down the graphics in Seattle, somewhat expected. The 26 frames per second has been pretty steady. The GPU and the CPU are working 0.03. They're both on 0.03 for the most part. They've kind of been pretty steady, so it's kind of an equalized use. The CPU is seemingly reduced for most of the flights, so I think there's been definitely an increase in how X-Plane is handling the main processor. So coming by KRNT again. That's where we took off from. We just did a little loop. I almost just want to keep flying around. I'm kind of 90 minutes into this test. We had one crash to desktop. This is really a smooth 25 to 30 with a pretty heavily generated area. I don't know if it was in Ben Supnick's blog where he said, you know, don't worry about your FPS as long as the sim seems smooth. And this, with these frame rates, is seemingly smoother. Seems very smooth. I'd probably just put this thing down here in Renton. Maybe call it a day on the sim. Maybe go go check out John Fly. I think I just saw an alert that he's on. Going to throw the first notch of flaps in here. Alright. That's our target right off the wing strut there. Even taking out, dropping down from max detail to high detail, I don't feel like I'm really losing a lot on the sim. Flaps to 20 degrees. We're going to have a right crosswind. 10 knots. 30 frames a second. That's, I'm going to put myself down as the happy camper department. Streaming X-Plane 11.1 public beta. Flying in the Seattle area. That landing in KRNT. Smoothness vector's been great. Ground quake's gone. Flight dynamics seem better. I definitely feel like I'm getting a steady, like, wind push. I may be repeating myself for some of you guys that have been in the chat, but people have been coming in and out. I'm running the Airfoil Labs. I got a 1080 GTX 1080, so it's a standard 1080 card. Slightly overclocked 6700K. I think it's at 4.4. Little airspeed. Field is made. Gonna drop the right wing. Do a little correction here. crosswind correction. Nice, and that was our little tour of Seattle. So we'll go park on the general aviation side here. What's this, the east side of the field? Yeah, the east side. Cessna 12 Bravo, clear of active. Going to general aviation parking. I'll park right here. Alright, so I'm going to do, I'm going to switch aircraft. I want to see the new Skyhawk. So I'm going to reload the Skyhawk with the G1000. Alright, gonna go to my map mode, turn my Cessna around. Cockpit looks similar but different. Looks like you got a lot more switches for fuses. Let's go battery on. Where's my fuel pump? Fuel pump on. Fuel pump off. This one starts up so different than the Airfoil Labs. It's a little bit tricky. Nice modeling of the knobs and the avionics. Here's some of that the brown haze. I'm running X camera. Doesn't look like X camera key is on this one. Getting similar frame rates, a little bit better than my Airfoil Labs. Probably about 8 at this point. Yep, same Austin, no upgrade. Back in there. Just kind of riding around and this is the default G1000 172. World Traffic 3 is working. That's all World Traffic 3. Testing the brakes here. We're in the Seattle demo area. Didn't really feel any jet wash from this thing. We're just going to blast off the runway. Got enough room down there? No, we should probably go this way. Breaking all the rules here. Oh, there's a big screech on the tires. Whoa, this thing wants to lift off the ground. I didn't do anything. Just took right off. Wow, the flight dynamics way better. This G1000 is going to take a lot of getting used to for me. So that's downtown Seattle. What we'll do, we'll just do a quick trip over to downtown. Let's see how the frames go. Steady 36, 30, I'd give it 30 to almost 40. Here I am. Wow, that thing's huge. Oh, wait, that's what she said. Huh, sorry. So everybody, thanks for coming by Squawking 1200. Wait a minute. There we go. This is kind of my first look, first view. I'm using World Traffic 3, flying in the Seattle area. That's Boeing Field. We're just kind of headed towards downtown Seattle. Just adjusting the view a little bit. I like to see underneath the wing. At least out on the left side. Try to get the I can see when the flaps are kind of coming down. Alright, looks like we're drawing some buildings in downtown now. Wish the draw view distance sometimes was a little further out. I have the settings down just a tiny bit. I'm not on max world objects. I'm down one notch from max world objects. I have a Hey! Whoa, John Fly, thank you for the host. Just flying around with the G1000. Flying around the Seattle demo area. First few observations is the flight dynamics really seem to be improved. Definitely feel the wind characteristics. That was really like it's not like an easy quantifiable thing like frames per second where you can, it's there, it's measurable. The immediate feel of the crosswind and how it interacted with the plane was really awesome. I'd been flying most of the morning with the Airfoil Labs. I was getting, in Seattle, I had to turn down the graphics settings just a little bit. Been streaming for a couple weeks now. Don't even have a webcam up. Primarily, my stream has been based on using Pilot to ATC, but I'm kind of just breaking with that today, just to kind of fly around and see how the new public beta is going. The World to X-Plane North American VFR landmarks, I think that was a folder, had an initial startup issue. It said they may not look correct. Let me see. Yeah, VFR landmarks for America. So I took that out of my folder. When I first started X-Plane after the update, that World X-Plane folder was an issue. Then it started up in Windows mode, so I just had to go to the graphics settings and launch in full simulation mode. There's been some of the little lines across the dashboard that appear here. And then the other thing I noticed is a lot of like weird brown smoke when I was at Seattle. This is pretty awesome. I have one of the boat libraries, and it just builds docks everywhere. So kind of fun. Looks a little micro stuttery right there, tiny bit, but nothing that's going to really impact my fun. If you guys are new to my stream, I'm running a 6700K processor, slightly overclocked. I run a GTX 1080. I primarily stream general aviation aircraft with Pilot to ATC. And I've been incorporating World Traffic 3. I would say I am 0% familiar with how to use a G1000. So, downtown Seattle, I feel like I did not get a major frames hit. Let's just crank around again and see. Yeah, the frames per second, not too bad. Not super exciting day when you get hosted by the John Fly. I've been a John Fly fan for a long time. It's Make a little left-hand turn, head back towards SeaTac. This is just kind of casual flight today. I believe this is an ortho tile. That looks like Boeing Field right there. SeaTac is just a little bit further up. Maybe we can drop down and buzz over take a buzz down here and scare some people at Boeing. Probably primarily scare myself. Oh, flaps over speed. Very sensitive. We're gonna have to land this baby now. Oh, I got almost full left rudder. Alright, you guys are gonna watch one of my first on-stream crashes. See if we can set this baby down. I forget the default is way more sensitive than the Airfoil Labs when it comes to flap deployment speeds. I got a wind coming from my right. Glad we got a lot of runway here. Alright. Go directly to nearest hangar. Do not pass go. Do not fly again until you fix your flaps over speed. I guess it's one of the benefits of the default Cessna is you have to be really on point with your flaps. Hey, fisherman with a beard, how are you? Like the Bob Ross. Yeah, just flap over sped. But with a cool click of the mouse here. Edit failures. Aircraft. Wings. That's funny, it's listed as controls. Flap, there it is. Set that back to always working. Alright. Yeah, I'm doing great today. I'm testing out public beta 11.1. I've been, this morning I was primarily going with the Airfoil Labs. I just switched over to the G1000. Just going to take off here and get us back up in the sky. We're just going casual flight today. Typically my stream, I've been flying a general aviation aircraft and incorporating pilot to ATC. A lot of guys are do the pilot edge thing. I've been, I said, hey, you know what? Nobody's really simming X-Plane 11 with pilot to ATC in general aviation. So that's kind of the direction that I've been taking my channel. Flaps up. Don't break the flaps again. In the Seattle demo area, frame rates are really good. I would say the smoothness is better. I'll show you guys my my settings. In Seattle, I had to drop down my number of world objects. I was getting between, say, 17 and 23 frames. So I dropped these down. I dropped my anti-aliasing down 1 notch, and then the frame rates were greatly improved. Left everything else alone. So those are what my settings are. Why there's no world traffic, it's kind of beyond me a little bit, so I'm just gonna generate some more flights. Maybe I need to crank this up a little bit. Alright, there's the warning. It's some kind of because of the frame rate drops, it's kind of letting us know, I believe, that you're not in real time anymore. So your flight time is going to be longer. So this looks like world to X-plane drawn traffic. What's that over there? Nope, not an aircraft. So check the radar. We'll see. So there's aircraft around us. So Cessna down here. Pretty far away. Yeah, this is an Ortho 4XP tile. Most of my ortho that I run, typically I fly in New England, so most of my ortho is in New England. But I know I should have an I believe this is an Ortho Seattle tile. Usually I'm running them at zoom level 17. I'm noticing this tiny conflict with my X camera, and the views aren't fully set up. Normally, well, I have a CH Eclipse yoke, and I have those little pedals in the middle. On my Airfoil Labs in the default regular Cessna, I can't use those when I'm using X camera. But they are working in this aircraft, as well as the hat switch for my views. But the hat doesn't recenter myself. I'm noticing a bunch more like dirt on this windshield. Ortho takes a while to get used to. One of the things is really making sure you direct the bottom, whatever the last question is, to your it's the overlay tiles, not overlay. To wherever you have your I'm going to have to look. It's been a while since I've had to generate a tile. I think you want to put them in your Z Ortho 4XP or your ZZZ HD Global Scenery 3. That's where you got to point that bottom one, or you don't get that. You get that weird can't sniff error. Yeah, so at the bottom of the Ortho, you have to. This is where I send the new EarthNav data to. That took me a while. I missed that completely the first couple times I tried it. So right down here in the bottom of my screen, it's just out of your photo view. I have it. Did you get the program to run itself to run? Like, where were the errors? Was it I know a lot of us, like, if you had somebody sitting next to you and they just said click here, you'd say, no kidding. You'd say, that's it? I've been pounding my head against the wall for 2 weeks, you know, trying to make it work. And then someone would just say, yeah, click here. And then you're like, whoa, that was it? Yeah, that's the fix. And so once I found my spot where I was having trouble and had the fix, I was like, you got to be kidding me. 2 weeks of like pain to not be clicking the right, you know, the one thing that I needed to like redirect it to. Let me see. Let me, I don't know if I can do Ortho 4XP as I fly. We can try that. So I have the shortcut on my desk. So first you go to your Earth tile map. So we're in, oh, I do have Ortho here. So I'm going to generate this Ortho. So I'm going to click this. I got to try to remember how to do this. It's been like a month. Plus 47 minus 122. So then I go exit that. Then you go, I'm going to use Bing. Bing is my source. Custom zoom level, I'm going to use zoom level, we'll say 17. And then custom build directory. I don't know if you have to do that anymore. I was using the height maps. So you would go zoom level, then you do build your data, then it does this thing. Keep an eye on my aircraft here. Alright. This one is pretty quick, I think. Sorry, just I was going to try to put the autopilot on, but I'm on the G1000. I'm not exactly sure where it is, so I'll just kind of keep an eye on it. So the OpenStreetMap server was busy, new tentative. So it kind of automatically does its stuff, and once you'll get a message down here that'll say that section is done. Like most things, see right there, completed 83 seconds. That was step 1. That was build the vector data. Now you're going to build the base mesh. And I think the base mesh I was using, I gotta find it now. The Might be on my main drive. Nope. Height maps. And so now you go find your height map of 47,122. Actually, it looks like it's just going to build it with the X-plane mesh. Whoa! Ortho has evolved a little bit in how it goes. So it looks like it is just doing. It just built it. Use the DEM file. Then you can build your masks. This one takes not too long, I don't think. It's the build this that takes the longest. So you can see it has a little progress bar here. Some people have, I think the height map thing was one of the earlier versions. Like when people were using X-Plane 10, the height maps really made a nice improvement on accuracy of the scenery. Build overlay. This is where the confusion would come from. Gotta wait for it to finish. We'll let that thing think in the background. Apparently, Ortho 4XP is not destroying my frame rates. I thought it would. Let's see, where is it? Here it is. About halfway with build masks. So you just kind of let it do its thing. It said, see, there was a failure here. There is no file to sniff from the indicated place. I don't know why. It kind of built all the other stuff. So it's been a couple of weeks, like I said, at least a month since I built an ortho tile. It's one of those things I periodically go back and build a tile just so I don't forget. And so sometimes I just have to refresh on how I do it. But this is the step that was killed that killed me. I didn't know it had to be pointed to your Z HD global scenery. Once it's been put into there, it's all good to go. I'm not sure what version of Ortho I'm using. So that's done. So now you'd go build the tile. And this one takes a long time. Okay, so I'm using version 1.2. What's the latest version? Oh yeah, there it is up there. Okay, so maybe that's why. And this software is like super dynamic. Like they keep adding to it and making like little changes. Like when I first started, the height maps were really important. And then a bunch of people are like, no, you don't have to use the height maps anymore. X-Plane's newer mesh is actually acceptably good. And then you get other people who are like, no, you got to use the crazy high res, you know, the ultra height, you know, the ultra height maps. And so I started using like the regular height maps, and that's how I kind of got into that flow. I think the height map is under the build the base mesh. But it kind of comes down to a little bit of experimenting. So this is going to take a while. This will probably take, with playing X-Plane, it's probably going to take 30-40 minutes. Yeah, Fisherman with a Beard, go down to the, I think on the org, somebody will point you to the correct Dropbox. But once you have it, it's so worth the pain. It took me a couple weeks, and I install software as part of what I do. I couldn't get it, and I watched the videos, and then finally I noticed I needed to have my build overlay. And people have shortcuts that, you know, I drag my tiles out and I manually kind of put them into some spots. People create those the links and the shortcuts so that it basically stays in the directory, stays in the main folder. So we're flying over Seattle. Probably Safeco Field here. Home of the Sounders. That's probably the baseball field. Oh yeah, you gotta forget it. Can't forget about that the football team. The Seahawks. Yeah, see how this download, this taskbar takes a long time. And the amount of time that it takes to build a tile is really based on what's in the area. If you're out in the middle of probably the desert, it's going to be probably really quick. It doesn't have a lot to render. It's just going to quick. You're in a place like the mountains where there's a lot of hills, there's a lot of texture, there's a lot of scenery and OpenStreetMap stuff that has to be thought about. Then it takes a long time, and the higher the zoom level, the longer it takes, the more space it takes up on your hard drive. There's definitely people that are 1.20. Usually a B is a beta. So they must be making what's his name, Oscar, must be making some kind of like little changes to it. This to me is one of those things that really evolutionized flight simming. You know, now you can really see what's around you. You can pick out like practically like houses. I've flown over some landmarks that I totally didn't expect, and I'm like, hey, I recognize that place. You know, it's a 2D thing, but I've recognized stuff that I never would have. See, that's some kind of like weirdness right there. That's that brown stuff that was on the ground. I like the dirt on the window. I think that's really fun. Yeah, as I gain some altitude, it looks like the frame rates are going up. The CPU and GPU are working less. I'm also over water. Let's take a look at our ortho tile, see how it's doing. Got a long way to go. And it just does this and does this, and I found for myself the Bing, the BI, worked really well. But again, you're going to find everybody all across the globe has different of opinions on what's working best for them. It comes down to experiment. I tried a couple, I think USA 2 builds, and the colors just looked really off for me. Bing seemed to be the most consistent. And so let's see. Once I get the tiles built, I build them on my extra hard drive, I go into Ortho 4. I take my overlays. Let me see if I can open up another window here. So I go to overlays. Alright. I'm multi-crashing here. That's what I call it. This one. Alright, so I should have my two folders back up. And this took me a little while, and I think I do it the hard way. I don't think I'm doing it the easy way. I think, again, like I said, other people have it figured out better than I do. But I'm a visual type of guy. So what I did, my orthos are rendered into my Ortho 4 XP folder. And then I went to tiles. So I take my tile, and then I go to my X-plane. And then I go to custom scenery. And then these are my tiles. So I drag my tile into here, place it in there. The next thing I do, I go back to Ortho 4 XP. I go to my overlays. I find my overlay that I just created, and then I have my overlay folder. I go into so if I just created, say, 3512, I find the matching corresponding folder over here, and I drag it in. So again, I think I do things a little bit more on the more difficult way, but it was the only way that I could figure it out, and so I was happy with that. So I have that in there, I have that in there, and then I don't believe I had to touch this. I think when I... Oh boy, that doesn't sound good. Ha! Alright. That's what I get for talking on stream. Yeah, no, I agree with whatever works. Alright, we're upside down in a puddle. Cool. That's good. That'll get rid of that crazy noise in the background. We'll just let my airplane sink. Maybe we'll see some bass. Ortho. So I think when you point your build overlay to the X-plane scenery, ZZZ, HD global scenery, it automatically puts it in there. I don't think I had to touch that. Then the other thing is you launch X-plane, and then once it's launched, before you go to pick a flight, you can quit. So you can immediately quit, and then what it does, this is another thing that I wasn't familiar with as far as simming. It creates the infamous INI file. And that's this thing. It's called scenery packs. When the scenery comes in, it will be up here. What you have to do, you have to copy it, and then you have to paste it below your global airports and below your overlays. And that's it. And then you save save. And then let's say I copied it, pasted it, and then I make sure I delete out. You probably could, no, copy and paste. Yeah, that'd be the best way to do it, and that's how I did it. So I copied and pasted my overlay, goes into here. I make sure that this is, make sure the overlay file is above your ortho, and make sure they're both below your scenery, below your airports. Hopefully that's clear. It didn't sound all that clear to me, but that stuff comes in above here. You want to copy it and paste it below here. So your ortho scenery, your overlays, and airports. And that was the key of fixing it for me. Once I discovered that, then I was off and running, creating ortho. And it kind of shows up the same way in your custom scenery folder. You have the ZZZ, you have your tiles, and on top of your tiles sits the OpenStreetMap overlay, so you get your roads, and then above that is all your libraries. I don't know what Untitled 1 is. There is a program called X something or other, that X Organizer, that will helps make sure you have everything in the right order. So we've got a long way to go on this. Yeah, hopefully those few tips will clarify the issues for you. Because once you go down the path of ortho, it kind of comes down to how much time do you want to dedicate to making tiles. You can do them automatically too, I believe, if you're in. You can use the batch build function. So you can kind of select a group, and then I think it'll do each one of those things. You can use the existing mesh, which is the X-plane mesh. That's where, when I started, I was using the height maps. I probably should go through and rebuild and use the existing mesh. Build the mask, build the overlays, batch build. Let it cook. Yeah, no, I'm glad, the community is what it's all about, and the guys that put out those videos took a bunch of watching it until it clicked. And then once it clicked, I was like, Eureka! Off and running. And now there are guys that have built or created better, more comprehensive content, I think, for building the Ortho 4 XP. So I think now that you're on 1.2 or 1.2 beta, you'll be off and running. But yeah, this is going to cook, it's got to go for a while. I'm surprised I haven't sank yet. Hey, Fisherman with the Beard is now following. Thank you. Alright, let's see. Flight configuration. Let's get back. Let's flip my aircraft over. I'm going to change my location. I want to see now how the performance is with the G1000 by my home base airport in Connecticut. Yeah, no fish yet. Probably a pretty big bill for that damage. And I put you can't see it on the screen, but on the bottom I actually put 2 ortho shortcuts, so I can just launch them from my taskbar. No, I'm in Connecticut, and so New England, and it's the home of the Flight Sim Con. So I'm pretty fortunate I was able to just drive there. I didn't even realize there was such a thing as a Flight Sim Con until I missed it the previous year, and then this year I was able to go to it. My X-Plane takes about 5 minutes to load on my hard drive. I don't know if you caught that. I'm not running X-Plane on my SSD until after some of this stuff gets ironed out with 11.1. I was waiting for the big update. Check on our tile. Where'd it go? Here it is. Yeah, about halfway. Pretty much you leave all this stuff the same too. It gets a little too, you know, as much as I want to be nerdy about this stuff, it gets to be almost too much. I think this, again, this is something for the Flight Sim Con, I think they could teach a class, you know, a 1-hour workshop on tile creation. I was just watching Captain K-Man, his videos on editing your airports for World Traffic 3. Hey Cam Jelly, the G1000 looks really good. I haven't tried it. I have not been a like a quote unquote like a G1000 guy, but to my eye it looks good. I've been kind of like a general aviation old school 6-pack type of pilot. Well, we should be able to crank up the aircraft in a second here. There we go. There's the G1000. This one starts up so much differently than the Airfoil Labs. Let's say fuel pump. I don't know, where is even like the fuel flow indicator in this thing? Oh, it's got to be up in here. Alright. And this one, crack the throttle. And this always starts up really, to me it starts up almost too easy. Just deleted 100 gigabytes of failed tiles. Yeah, once you get the first couple of tiles and you get them in the correct places, and I think there is a way to correct some of the tiles that have failed. Again, I'd be like you. I'd be like, ah, screw this. Just dump them in the trash. Start over. And I recommend start with like a zoom level, like one of the low level tiles. You know, just find your path. You know, output it quickly, and get your. We'll go back to the ortho. So yeah, choose like zoom level 11. This way it creates it like as fast as your computer can build it. Go through the steps, build your overlay into that Z_HD thing. Like I showed you, put those tiles in the correct spot. You know, you put your orthos here, the tile, and then you put your overlays in here. And then once you have that first tile created and you know where they're going, and then you look at it and you're like, yeah, that's totally an ortho tile. Then go ahead and build a bigger one. This way you're not wasting a lot of time spinning your wheels with creating tiles where you're not 100% sure where they're going to go. There's nothing like starting over as a great lesson. I'm a visual and I'm like a do it, try it until I get it. As much as I can watch videos and read manuals, I'm still like a trial and error. There was something else that I did that I'm pretty sure I didn't do 100% correctly on. Something else. The pilot to ATC. When it comes to chatter, I wanted chatter in my pilot to ATC. I downloaded it. I figured out where the chatter files were on liveatc.net and just started dumping them into like a chatter folder. I was getting all kinds of chatter. The recommended procedure is you put them in tower, ground, clearance, delivery, and so there's like a hierarchy, a folder structure. So I was like, the hell with the folder structure. I just wanted to hear chatter. So now that I found how to make the chatter, where to start to put it, now it's going to come down to refining where I'm putting the chatter. So we'll zoom in on the G1000 here. Release our parking brakes. This is going to take me a long time to get used to. That's the heading bug. Altimeter. The ground handling is way, or the dynamics seems much improved. Which runway is this? 15. Yeah, so my frames per second went up a lot. And the smoothness seemed to go up. Like there's a definitely look at that thing. Just I don't even have my hands on anything. I just took off. My wind is coming from 2.4, so that was coming in from a side wind. It almost seems like it's taking off too easy. Where's my now my takeoff trim was set, but really I almost had to do nothing to get that thing off the ground. So go check on my tile. 60% done. I probably should have I should have followed my own advice and just started with a zoom level 11 tile. But no, I had to like go the complicated way. Probably could have had your tile all built. Looking around Hartford, this is all zoom level 17. Oh wait, that's new. That's new. Oh, the G1000 instructions. Can I get them out? Oh, that's cool. I like it. Is there a different Austin? Nope, same Austin. But it's not, doesn't seem like it's clickable. Alright. Alright. Feels pretty trimmed out. Head south there. It's the Connecticut River. But no, this stuff looks super cool. I can't wait to kind of sink my teeth into it and kind of become a somewhat more of a modern aviator. There's a lot of switches on this aircraft now. It's gonna kind of go back to like ground school. Even though I have world traffic running, I think I didn't reset it to Hartford. See, there was a drop of frame rate down to 24, but I think that's happened to me earlier. I think that might be a tile section. Or a difference in tile section. I think I originally had some zoom level 16s all around, and then because Bradley Field's kind of like my quote-unquote home field, I think I did a zoom level 17 or 18 tile. Alright, let's check on our tile creation. It's getting there. That was a pretty awesome, fortuitous morning for me. A colleague of mine had to switch shifts. Usually I work in Thursday mornings, but he needed Thursday afternoon off. So I told him I'd swap. So he's working the morning, so I've been able to do this with the 11.1 release, the beta release. Because tomorrow I'm busy, Saturday I'm pretty busy, Sunday I'm pretty busy. So I wasn't even sure when I'd gotten to it. It would drive me crazy. I do two things for a living. I work as a university assistant doing tech support, and then I'm a photographer. So tomorrow I have a wedding to photograph. Wedding season here in New England. Yeah, no worries, no crazy secrets. I've always had an interest in flight simulation too. I started out actually as like one of the Apple IIe Sublogic kids. You know, I was 12 years old, flying around like the little green dot on the dashboard and stuff. And then I was kind of in and out of flight simulation for a while. The last year and a half or so, kind of X-Plane 10, just kind of relaunched it, and then I discovered the whole online world and like the communities. It grew so much since really the last time I had a, between kids and work. You had one of those really busy like 7-8 year stretches where I didn't do much simulation. So the last like year and a half, I've been trying to, actually sim, correct procedures. But this is just, X-Plane 11 has just been a joy to fly. I converted, I had another relative, he was a flight, the Microsoft. I'm like, no, you got to come over to X-Plane, and X-Plane 9 versus Microsoft, probably not there. And there's a couple things about Microsoft that he really loved, like the built-in air traffic control. He loved that. He thought that was an awesome thing. But now that he's been flying X-Plane 11, he's just like in awe of how nice things are. All right, check tile creation. Boom. Almost there. I think the mesh is actually, it is one of the quicker steps. So one of the last steps is like you're home free. Let's see. We'll crank up the traffic density. Create flights. So one of the things about World Traffic 3 that I didn't realize was like how much airport editing. And I think the developer didn't realize how much airport editing the average user was going to have to do. But then he quickly came out with this for general aviation flights. This may have crashed my sim. Hopefully not. If it did, it'll just make creating the ortho faster. Oh, there it comes. Came back to life. So it does have an impact on my frames, at least initially. It went back up to 30. So we got a lot going on here today at Squawking 1200, Squawking VFR. We're doing some 11.1 beta demo. We're building some ortho tile and ortho tile. We're working out the default Cessna with the G1000. I don't know if I like my field of view here. kind of off. Feels off. I don't know. Like there, that feels straighter. There we go. Myself a little center. Can still see my wing. So now I might be having to create orthos while I fly. I thought it would have had a much bigger impact on my frames. You know, I run a single monitor setup too. It's a dual monitor setup, but I'm only flying on one. I have OBS in my Twitch chat, and when I run Pilot to ATC, those are on my right-hand monitor. This is Bushnell Park in Hartford. This is the Travelers Tower. Yeah, that's actually modeled reasonably accurately. Alright, let's check on our ortho. Oh, just a couple more minutes. You know, got to be thankful to Oscar Pilatus for creating that. It's just brilliance. You know, it'd be nice to have like shimmering water coming down the Connecticut River, but again, I'm not going to be the crazy picky one. Check this G1000. Okay, so here's all of our temperatures, etc. Let's see, mess with the EGT. Crank it up. There we go. COM radio. Direct to menu process. Different maps. So this looks like the autopilot here. Cool. Awesome, awesome sauce. Hey, completed in 2067.37 seconds. So now, custom overlay. You go to E. Well, E for me. I go to my X-plane. In X-plane, I go to custom scenery, global scenery, and that's it. Select folder, and then 4, 3, 2, 1, build overlay. Something does not sound good with my aircraft. Nope, that's why. Whoa! What is it? Autopilot. Altitude. Heading. That seemed to work. Alright, back to ortho. Yeah, I hardly know what any of this stuff means. DDS is not a dentist. So that took about a minute. So now that our ortho is created, go to my folders here, ortho, get all and yeah, this one. So in my ortho 4XP folder, I now have stuff that's created. So I'm going to go to my tile, and it was plus 47 minus 122. It's this one. So you take this tile, and it goes into your custom scenery. Whoop. Moving it to custom scenery, 41 122. Now I go back to this, I go to overlays, find my custom scenery, then I go to my overlays, open up my EarthNav data, and it was 41 122, 47 122. So I go to EarthNav. See, I already built that. That was Seattle. So I take this one, 47 122, drag it in there. Go back to ortho. Go back to ortho. I got my tile. I got my overlay. And I think that's it, because the other one creates in the ZZZ folder. So now if we go to new flight, change locations. No, I'm going to check with SkyVector really quick. KSEA. Go to Seattle. So that one of the airports that should have been built, I'm gonna guess, is, I'll find one here. That looks, in relationship to the map, like it would be fun, or fine, excuse me. COE. Pappy Boyington Field. Start new flight. So this should be my ortho tile. I don't know if I have to restart X-Plane in order for it to see the ortho tile, or if it's just going to read the scenery files and build it again. One of those mysteries. I think it'll be fine. Seems like it's reloading all the scenery. But again, it is Windows, it is a computer. Restart is almost always the key to everything. Let's see if we can just, let's raise up. I'm not sure how to get, I know how to do it. Alright. Shift 9, get me back in the aircraft, get me to my map. We're going to go 6,000 feet above. Yeah, and judging by, this stuff, this looks like regular scenery. Usually I try to pick out water, and if the shorelines look regular, this might be the edge of the tile too, but I think they come with more distinctive lines. See, this does not look like ortho. This looks like regular. Alright. Pause my X-plane. Go back to ortho. Earth tile map. See, one thing I don't like, I can't zoom into it, so we're just east of Seattle. Back to sky back there. I might have went too far. So just east of Seattle. It's a pretty big tile. That definitely seems like KSKA. Fairchild. Excuse me. I think there is a mapping program or you know, utilizing Google Earth. Raise me up and turn that off, and let's say take a quick look around. Yeah, this definitely looks like ortho, and it's got overlays. That's like an overlay. So the overlays look like they're working. Once we unpause it, we start falling. Oh boy. Mayday, mayday. Mayday, mayday. Student pilot. Is that going backwards? Okay, that. See those shorelines? They're not as jaggedy looking. This looks like regular regular X-plane scenery. Could be a scenery restart. I don't have time. I'm running out of time to like do more. I'm gonna have to come back to this later and check. I was hoping just to see, confirm with like automobile traffic and stuff. But stuff is generated right there. That's overlays. Yeah, there's some cars down here. So everything looks like it worked. I'm trying to see what that thing was back there. That's a weird anomaly. Yeah, that's going to pretty much do it for my stream today. Fishman with a Beard. Hopefully that kind of gets you back in the correct tile creation. I'm going to post this back up. This is a long one. This is probably my longest stream that I've attempted to do. But I think anytime a new public beta comes out, I think it's worthy of kind of like a nice long look here. Hard to, I'm not sure if I'm in my ortho creation area or not. You know, I just kind of rushed through some of that, but I think you got the gist of. Yeah, the map thing's a little bit weird. Yeah, if you run into any more questions or have anything else, if I can help you, let me know. I don't know if I can get messages on Twitch, probably. So yeah, I just want to thank everybody that stopped by the broadcast today. Thank you for stopping by. Squawking 1200. I'm off to work. You guys have a great afternoon, Yeah, thanks again. You're welcome, Fisherman with the Beard.